When Drew Pritchard went to bed on a rainy Wednesday night, he could not have imagined how everything would change before sunrise. Known for his fearless eye for forgotten treasures, the veteran salvager had spent decades hustling through dusty barns and abandoned factories, restoring iron bedsteads and original ovens to their former glory. But in the small hours of Thursday morning, a section of his historic workshop's century-old roof gave way without warning, unleashing timbers and masonry that crushed mid-century machinery and pinned Drew under a tangle of steel girders. That collapse left his beloved studio gutted, and the man himself fighting for his life. Many Salvage Hunters fans know Drew as the acerbic treasure hunter, whose passion for Victorian architectural salvage made him a household name. With his unmistakable top hat and dogged determination, he had carved a career out of giving heritage fixtures a second chance. Every Tuesday evening, viewers tuned in to watch him climb into dank cellars or clamber across scaffolding to rescue forgotten cast iron radiators or oak shutters marked with the patina of 100 years. His enthusiasm was contagious, and his ability to envision beauty in decay transformed him into the face of British reclamation culture. Behind the scenes, Drew's workshop in North Wales was both his laboratory and his sanctuary. The mid-Victorian brick building had once served as a railway carriage depot, its towering pillars and overhead beams a perfect setting for the dozens of projects he juggled at any given moment. Antique woodworking benches stood alongside sandblasting booths and welding stations. Each corner overflowed with discarded doors, stained glass panels, and columns that once graced grand London townhouses. It was here that Drew's team meticulously repaired and refinished every piece destined for a new life in a renovated home or historic restoration. In the early hours of Thursday, however, the very structural character that attracted Drew to this building became its fatal flaw. Heavy rainfall soaked through years of aged roofing, weakening joint timbers until gravity took hold. At approximately 3:17 a.m., a deafening crack echoed through the silent workshop. Neighbors reported hearing a roar as bricks and wooden joists rained down across the main workspace, crushing machinery and blocking the only exit. Drew's close friend and longtime colleague Roger Mills, who lives on site, rushed through the rain to find the collapsed structure and Drew barely conscious beneath a pile of debris. Emergency services arrived minutes later, prying away beams with hydraulic jacks and cutting torches. By torchlight, paramedics stabilized Drew's neck before extricating him on a stretcher. He had suffered multiple fractures, a punctured lung, and deep lacerations across his torso. Rescuers credit their swift response for saving his life. His vital signs were so unstable that medical teams feared they would lose him en route to the regional trauma center. Overnight, he was transferred to intensive care, where surgeons performed a 5-hour operation to repair a ruptured spleen and insert metal rods into his crushed ribs. As day broke, news of the collapse spread through the salvage community and beyond. Posts on the Salvage Hunters social media pages shifted from photos of antique fireplaces to urgent appeals for updates on Drew's condition. Fans expressed shock and concern. "Get well soon, sir. We need Drew back saving historic treasures." Comments flooded in from around the world, many accompanied by photos of pieces they'd restored after retrieving them on his recommendation. The deep bond between Drew and his audience was evident in every message, a testament to the trust and goodwill he earned over 14 seasons. His family, gathered at Liverpool Heart and Chest Hospital, released a brief statement through Drew's publicist. They thanked emergency services and hospital staff for their heroics, and asked for privacy while Drew recovered. His partner Carla James, who has appeared on the show alongside him, remained by his bedside. Insiders describe her calm courage, holding Drew's hand through each procedure, and smiling at him through the haze of medication. Drew had often joked on camera that he would never make it through a day without her steady support. Now she was the rock anchoring his journey back from the brink. The workshop he loved was left a twisted, half-demolished ruin. Large sections of wall had been painted vibrant green, or trimmed with carved corbels salvaged from church pews, now scattered like kindling across the asphalt yard. His beloved solar panel array survived intact, offering a window of hope. Drew himself, though confined to a hospital bed, began already to plan how to rebuild. Through swollen eyes and a crackling voice message, he told his crew, "This building's bones have held true for more than a century. We'll clear the wreckage, shore it up, and bring back what was lost." Salvage experts point out that restoring a collapsed site is not just a matter of cleaning rubble. It demands careful cataloging of every surviving artifact. Every broken piece of cast iron, twisted steel beam, or shattered glass pane holds the memory of its original life. In the coming days, Drew's team will document the damage, photograph every fragment, and store items in secure containers to prevent further water exposure. They already plan to bring in structural engineers to determine whether the workshop can be stabilized or if a partial reconstruction is needed using matching handmade bricks and reclaimed timbers. For viewers, The tragedy serves as a stark reminder that heritage buildings are fragile, and that the passion Drew has for preserving architectural history carries real risk. It also underscores how much of Drew Pritchard's career has been defined by daring rescues, whether in crumbling country piles or Victorian factories. Now it is his own workshop that needs rescue. And while the physical building may lie in ruin, the spirit of salvage that Drew embodies remains unbroken. As the shock gives way to resolve, one thought resonates: the journey ahead will be long, and the loss irrevocable in some corners. But Drew Pritchard's legacy is not confined to bricks and beams. It lives in every restored doorframe, every reclaimed fireplace mantel, and every home that stands a little more beautiful for having been saved. The rubble of this morning may symbolize heartbreak, but it will also be the first raw material for rebuilding his dream. And when Drew finally stands again, hammer in hand, ready to refinish another piece of architectural history, fans will know that no tragedy can silence his unwavering beat for preservation. At first light, a team of structural engineers, conservation specialists, and longtime colleagues assembled beneath the workshop's battered rafters. They moved like archaeologists at an ancient dig, treading carefully over splintered joists and brick shards. Each fragment, from a twisted Corten beam to a fragment of stained glass bearing a geometric pattern, was photographed in situ before being gently lifted onto pallets padded with straw and canvas. Side by side they logged every item, assigning it an identification number and descriptive note. Across the perimeter, makeshift tarpaulin sheets held back rain and wind, buying time before full reconstruction. On the workshop floor, calibrated drones hovered to produce 3D scans of the damage, charting precise collapse vectors. Drew's project manager Jasper Collins oversaw the effort, projecting calm leadership even as he acknowledged the heartbreak of seeing decades of craftsmanship scattered like pebbles in a storm. Meanwhile, at the Regional Trauma Center, Drew's condition stabilized after the first critical 48 hours. His ventilator was removed and speech patterns returned, raw but intelligible. Twice daily, his physiotherapist guided him through breathing exercises and gentle stretches to prevent pulmonary complications. Nurse practitioners under Dr. Sheila Tan maintained a vigilant watch for signs of infection around his surgical wounds, which had been carefully irrigated and sutured. Sedation gave way to moments of consciousness where Drew recognized his partner Carla and managed a weak smile. Each afternoon he requested to speak with his craftsman, hungry for updates on the salvage operation. When told that the solar array had shielded a portion of the archive from ruin, he nodded with relief, gear visible in his eyes. His Yorkshire Terrier Barnaby curled by his bedside, offering silent companionship through restless nights. Community response grew into an international movement of goodwill. Within 24 hours of the collapse, a crowdfunding page launched under the title Rebuild Drew's Workshop, drawing pledges from professional restorers in Australia, antique dealers in Canada, and fans across Europe. Donations ranged from £2 to £5,000, adding up to an impressive pool earmarked for materials, labor, and temporary rental space. Local heritage trusts pledged to donate reclaimed timbers, hand-fired bricks, and original cast-iron brackets from decommissioned factories. A nearby university's conservation department offered pro bono consultancy and student labor for on-site cataloging. Even television networks stepped in, constructing a custom-made marquee to serve as a temporary workshop, complete with climate control and secure storage. As financial contributions climbed, so did morale, transforming shock into a shared mission. The Salvage Hunters production team and network executives recognized the story's resonance and swiftly pivoted programming. A one-hour special documenting the collapse, rescue, and community rally premiered 2 nights later, intercutting frontline footage from the accident site with hospital room interviews. Viewers watched Jasper's methodical salvage plan unfold and saw behind-the-scenes perspective from camera operators who had captured Drew's earliest triumphs moments before disaster struck. Narrated by Drew's longtime friend and co-presenter Alan Al Jones, the episode paid tribute to both the man and the trade he championed. The special concluded with a montage of donated tools arriving at the temporary workshop, underscored by Drew's rallying motto, "Everything old deserves a second chance." Ratings soared, cementing the notion that audiences craved authentic connection as much as decorative salvage. For Carla James, managing public attention while standing at Drew's side tested every ounce of her resilience. She balanced hospital visits with coordinating volunteer shifts at the salvage site, consulting on logistic details with Jasper, and overseeing communications. In candid conversations on camera, she shared memories of their first meeting in a crumbling manor house, negotiating with a French architect to save a set of Louis XV doors. Her heartfelt posts on social media chronicled both tender hospital moments and field updates at the workshop. Friends described her as a rock, organizing a roster of relief drivers, meal deliveries, and childcare for junior crew members whose families relied on site wages. Even under immense pressure, she maintained a warmth that fueled the collective effort to restore both the building and the spirit of salvage. Engineers now project the reconstruction timeline in phases spanning 6 months. Phase 1 focuses on structural stabilization, replacing load-bearing timbers with matching oak beams, reinforcing arches with new steel joists, and repointing the exterior brickwork with lime mortar consistent to the original Victorian furnace. Then comes the fit-out stage, reinstalling cranes, refitting sandblasters and reconnecting the solar panel array. Meanwhile, museum-grade dehumidifiers will dry and preserve the most sensitive artifacts. The team plans a celebratory reopening gala at year's end, inviting donors, broadcasters, and community figures to witness the rebirth. For Drew, still convalescing but eager to return, the blueprint offers hope as sturdy as any oak post. When that first beam is lifted back into place, it will stand as testament to collective determination, a blueprint for both architectural and personal restoration. With the temporary workshop humming into life and the initial shock receding, Drew Pritchard began the hardest part of his journey, relearning how to move. In the rehabilitation wing of Liverpool Heart and Chest Hospital, he faced daily physiotherapy sessions that tested his mettle more than any roof collapse ever could. Supported by gate belts and parallel bars, he took those first wobbly steps, each one a defiance of the timbers that had crushed him. His legs, weakened by time and traction, shook under the weight of his resolve. Yet with Carla's steady hand on his shoulder and a therapist's gentle encouragement, he pressed on, refusing to accept defeat. Back at the temporary marquee workshop, Jasper Collins kept the enterprise running like clockwork. He rotated crews through safe zones, ensuring that no one worked alone in the rain-slicked yard and that every volunteer received proper protective gear. He live-streamed daily progress updates, engineers reinforcing roof beams, students cataloging delicate stained glass shards, and local stonemasons carving replacement corbels by hand. Thanks to drone footage time-lapses, viewers could watch the battered skeleton of the building evolve into a scaffolded monument to collaboration. Every clip reminded Drew that, while his body recovered in hospital, his colleagues were fighting to rescue his legacy. Meanwhile, gratitude poured in from across the globe. Antique enthusiasts in Melbourne donated rare Victorian gas lamps that had been sitting in museum vaults for decades. A metal foundry in Sheffield offered to recast lost iron brackets free of charge. Fans in Scandinavia organized a virtual tool shower, mail-ordering chisels, hammers and planes to the temporary site. One particularly touching donation came from a retired stonemason in Cornwall who'd rescued a foot-tall carved gargoyle from a private chapel years earlier. He shipped it overnight, hoping it might find a place of honor on the rebuilt facade. Each package arrived with a handwritten note, "For Drew, who taught me to see beauty in what others discard." At the hospital, Drew absorbed these gestures like medicine. Between chest physiotherapy rounds, he read fan letters praising his vision and recounting how they'd used his advice to save pieces of their own local heritage. He watched the special episode on Salvage Hunters that chronicled the collapse, his own weathered face narrating a vow to rebuild. He confessed to a visiting filmmaker that he felt both humbled and buoyed by the communal response. "I thought I was a lone wolf," he said, voice thick. "Turns out I have a pack of loyal hounds ready to dig me out of any rubble." Insurance adjusters and legal advisors became a regular presence, their clipboards tracking costs and compliance with heritage preservation laws. They confirmed that the original workshop's Victorian-era bricks qualified for a special grant, covering up to 70% of rebuilding expenses. Historic England also pledged support, dispatching conservation officers to advise on replicating mortar composition and matching period-accurate sash window profiles. Meanwhile, Drew's own production company negotiated a new filming schedule. The upcoming Salvage Hunters series would open with the reconstruction story, giving viewers a front-row seat to every nail driven and beam secured. The show's editors even designed a split-screen opening title sequence that juxtaposed pre-collapse footage with live rebuild scenes, symbolizing resurrection in real time. By the third week, Drew's physiotherapy had progressed enough for him to hobble into the workshop's marquee on crutches. He paused under its white canopy, surveying pallets of bricks and stacks of timber prepared for Phase 1. Backlit by a blazing afternoon sun, he brushed a hand across a walnut doorframe turned face down for varnishing, muttered a quick prayer of thanks, and addressed the gathered crew. "You've saved my bones and my heart. Now let's save this place." The team erupted in applause, cheers that echoed off temporary walls like a fresh burst of energy. His return to set came with emotional complexity. Drew knew cameras were rolling, capturing every grimace and quip as he navigated crutches along uneven ground. He worried viewers might see vulnerability instead of determination, yet he soon realized that authenticity resonated more than perfection. When he winced lifting a plank or conceded, "Blimey, these ribs are still tender," fans rallied behind him, turning moments of struggle into communal triumph. On social media, Drew goes untrended as supporters posted video clips of his first on-site appearance, celebrating each milestone from hauling a sawhorse to chinking a period-accurate stone jamb. Carla stayed by his side, balancing her role as project coordinator with her role as partner and nurse. She negotiated the logistics of on-site accommodations, installing a hospital bed in a corner of the marquee so Drew could rest between sites. She scripted daily update videos, often featuring behind-the-scenes banter, Jasper teasing Drew about leaving scaffolding screwdrivers in his hospital gown, or Al Jones dropping by to test the new power tools. These candid moments highlighted the human side of salvage work and underscored how a tight-knit team could weather any storm, literal or figurative. As the end of Phase 1 approached, roof beams replaced, walls repointed, and temporary bracing removed, the workshop began to reclaim its original character. On a crisp morning, Drew hobbled across the threshold unassisted for the first time. He stopped in the center of the main bay, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a small trowel. With a deliberate flourish, he applied the final compound to a fresh mortar joint, his signature mark on a building that had once threatened to destroy him. Around him, cameras flashed and team members cheered. That simple act, filling a single gap, symbolized every laborious step he'd taken to reclaim his life and his life's work. The newly stabilized shell of Drew's workshop felt both foreign and familiar, as crews moved into Phase 2 of reconstruction. Inside the marquee, long rows of reclaimed workbenches awaited assembly, and heavy-duty tool chests gleamed beneath temporary floodlights. Drew, still easing into mobility but resolved to oversee every detail, arrived early each morning. He paused at the entrance, inhaling the mingled scent of fresh-cut oak and curing lime mortar, then tapped his crutch against the plywood floor in a steady rhythm that echoed the heartbeat of the revival effort. The first task was reinstalling the workshop's core machinery. Cranes and hoists, donated by a regional heritage railway charity, lifted restored sandblasting booths back onto their mounts. Welders, guided by hand-drawn blueprints from the original depot plans dated 1893, resecured fluted iron brackets above workstations. Each bolt tightened carried symbolic weight. It was not merely metal meeting machinery, but hope anchoring dreams. Watching his colleagues sweat over torque wrenches, Drew couldn't help but crack a grin. Even hunched in a high-visibility jacket, he radiated the passion of the Salvage Huntsman fans knew so well. Next came the test of wiring and lighting. Long runs of braided conductors, chosen to replicate the workshop's 1920s aesthetic, were threaded through porcelain insulators fixed to exposed beams. Riggers hoisted restored industrial pendant lamps, their original glass shades polished until they glowed. When electricians flipped the main switch for the first time, wiring hum pre-rebuild seemed replaced by the triumphant bellow of power restored. The overhead lamps bathed the space in a warm amber glow, revealing the bones of a building reborn. Drew tapped out a quick Morse-like beat on his crutch, and Jasper Collins grinned back, mouthing, "She's alive." Meanwhile, restoration teams turned their attention to the most intricate salvage pieces. A late Victorian fireplace surround, once thought too fragile, lay painstakingly unwrapped from protective foam. Conservators brushed away dust and debris, then applied consolidant to hairline cracks. Drew knelt beside them, watching each stroke as if it were a surgeon's incision. That mantle was destined for scrap until Al and I spotted it, nestled behind that bricked-up chimney, he murmured. The conservators exchanged satisfied nods. This was exactly why they rallied to rebuild the workshop, to honor every fragment of architectural memory he'd helped rescue over the years. Filming for the new Salvage Hunters episodes resumed in earnest, but with a renewed tone. The production crew set up cameras beneath reclaimed rock wool insulation panels that now lined the rafters for sound dampening. Al Jones, returning as co-presenter, opened the first post-collapse episode by guiding viewers through the transformation. What you see now is not just a salvage yard, but a monument to community spirit. Drew joined him at the refurbished oak bench, and leaning on his crutch, delivered the line fans had longed to hear. "Welcome back to the place where dreams get a second chance." As cameras rolled, Drew attempted his first hands-on project since the accident, a 1930s wrought iron staircase riser recovered from a demolished theater. His broken ribs still protested, and Al offered a supportive elbow as they guided the piece onto a stand. The sequence cut between Drew's focused expression and his team's deft repairs, then panned to Carla filming behind the scenes with a smartphone. The raw authenticity of his return, awkward adjustments, visible scars and all, resonated deeply. Comments exploded across social media. Viewers praised his bravery, and hashtags like Drew Returns and Salvage Strong spiked into trending topics. Between takes, Drew held short salvage chats for the crew, gathered around steaming mugs of coffee, he emphasized safety procedures born from hard lessons. Inspect that roof timber before you trust it, and always mind your stance near overhead beams. His words carried extra gravity, not as lofty admonitions but as practical counsel anchored in personal ordeal. The young apprentices scribbled notes, keen to learn not just the craft of restoration but the wisdom of resilience he embodied. As Phase 2 edged toward completion, the workshop's character began to re-emerge. The scent of linseed oil returned as fumed oak benches were oiled and buffed. Shelves of reclaimed door hardware, once scattered across pallets, lined new display units. The solar-powered heating system clicked to life on chilly mornings, its silent hum a reassurance that the building's future would be as sustainable as its past was storied. Drew watched the final touches go in place, a hand-engraved brass plaque honoring the original depot's builders, and a simple line beneath, "Reborn 2025 by many hands, one heart." To mark the end of major restoration, Jasper organized a low-key gathering in the workshop's center bay. Under festoon lights, crews and volunteers raised toasts in chipped enamel mugs. Carla, standing beside Drew, tapped her spoon on a ceramic bowl for attention. She handed him the microphone borrowed from the set. His voice cracked with emotion as he spoke. "This isn't just my workshop. It's our sanctuary, our classroom, and our gallery. You've given me back my purpose, and every plank, beam, and panel here tells the story of that gift." Tears glistened on cheeks as the crowd cheered, knowing they'd rewritten not only a building's fate but a man's life. That night, as the temporary marquee lights dimmed and the last volunteer departed, Drew lingered in the stillness. He traced his fingers along the edge of the restored oak workbench and allowed himself a rare moment of quiet pride. The workshop no longer resembled a ruin, but stood ready to usher in another generation of salvaged dreams. Beneath the amber glow, Drew gathered his strength and vowed, "No storm, no collapse, and no hatchet year will ever stop this heartbeat." With that promise echoing in his mind, he left the workshop behind, already eager for the next salvage hunt. With the framework fully restored and the workshop's heartbeat rekindled, the reconstruction effort now transitioned into Phase 3, the meticulous interior refit and finishing touches that would transform the space back into a fully functioning salvage haven. Through custom-made joinery, precision-welded brackets, and carefully calibrated dust extraction systems, the team reinstated every piece of machinery to its rightful place. The sandblasting booth, a cornerstone of Drew's restoration arsenal, gleamed under new LED task lights. The carpentry benches stood leveled, their tops resurfaced by apprentices guided by master craftsmen. Hand-forged hooks reappeared along exposed beams, ready to cradle reclaimed doors and windows destined for new life. Every detail, ventilation ducts painted to match the original ironwork, motion sensor lamps installed for late-night projects, spoke to a blend of authenticity and modern practicality that defined Drew Pritchard's vision. Meanwhile, the Salvage Hunters production crew returned with an expanded setup to film the workshop's renaissance. Distant cranes rolled out tracking shots of the rebuilt roofline, and camera operators captured the ritual of cranes lowering a restored carriage wheel into place. Al Jones co-presented alongside Drew, interviewing engineers about the challenges of matching 19th-century brickwork and consulting conservationists on preserving fragile textiles. These episodes highlighted not only the triumphant return of a beloved salvage team but also the complex choreography required to direct a broadcast into a live construction environment. Producers adjusted schedules to accommodate Drew's physiotherapy regimen, ensuring that he appeared on camera during filming blocks without risking overexertion. In early November, with the interior fully outfitted and filming underway, Drew hosted a private reopening gala for those who had poured heart and soul into the rebuild. Sheltered beneath custom-engineered scaffolding festooned with vintage lanterns, guests including donors, local officials, Heritage Trust representatives, and students lined up to witness the ceremonial unlocking of the workshop doors. Drew, steady on a pair of custom orthopedic boots, used a handcrafted key etched with the workshop's original crest to open the reclaimed mahogany door. As it swung wide, a collective gasp echoed through the span. Inside, benches glittered with freshly honed tools, salvaged machinery hummed with standby power, and every reclaimed architectural fragment stood proudly on display. The ribbon-cutting moment unfolded beneath the amber glow of industrial pendants, and enthusiasm radiated like heat from a kiln. Attendees toured the space, guided by apprentices who explained how each restored piece would soon leave the workshop on its next journey. Local schoolchildren, invited for a hands-on masterclass, operated trowels and sanders, their eyes alight with the thrill of transforming rough-hewn timber. Drew paused often, greeting each volunteer by name, acknowledging their contributions with a handshake or a friendly pat on the back. Carla snapped dozens of candid photos, already imagining the spread for a future feature in a heritage magazine. Community outreach remained a core principle of the revival. The team announced Salvage Saturdays, a monthly public event offering free drop-in consultations for anyone with a heritage rescue project. From rusty iron gates unearthed in back gardens to crumbling plasterwork behind Victorian cornices, locals lined up with photographs and physical samples. Drew and his crew assessed each, offering repair tips, cataloging items, and sometimes even volunteering to salvage urgent pieces between filming days. These sessions revived lost crafts across the region, teaching participants to value local history while strengthening community bonds rooted in shared preservation goals. Looking ahead, Drew envisioned taking the pop-up salvage workshop model on the road. By converting shipping containers into mobile workshops, he planned to bring basic restoration facilities to remote and underserved areas. Equipped with a portable sandblaster, workbenches, and demonstration tools, these mobile units would enable regional launches of participatory salvage hunts, where volunteers could unearth and restore pieces from disused buildings nearby. Plans already took shape for the inaugural tour, starting in small towns in the Scottish Highlands, before moving on to the rolling hills of Devon and the coastal ruins of Cornwall. Behind the scenes, Drew continued his commitment to personal recovery. He completed 6 months of physiotherapy and swimming-based conditioning, regaining full range of motion and dust resistance. His regimen now included guided yoga sessions adapted for a man who remembered how easily the human frame could buckle. He often remarked, "If I can lift a battered door back into its frame, I can build myself back stronger." Each session, documented by the production team for an upcoming special feature, underscored the parallel between rebuilding a man and reconstructing a workshop. As the 5th season of Salvage Hunters premiered, viewers saw not only the usual bounty of architectural treasures, but also the workshop's interior in its full vibrant glory. The program's tagline updated to reflect the journey: Salvage Hunters Rebuild, Restore, Renew. Ratings spiked as longtime fans tuned in to witness the triumphant rebirth of the show's beating heart. Critics noted how authenticity married with production quality breathed new life into the series, praising Drew's vulnerability and the hands-on camaraderie that defined each episode. By year's end, Drew Pritchard stood at the heart of a fully operational workshop, surrounded by freshly salvaged items awaiting their next voyage. As he ran his hand along the lip of a restored fireplace mantel, he reflected on the path from devastation to revival. The ribs that once bore the weight of collapsing timbers now carried the weight of renewed purpose, and a community united by shared passion. In a final on-camera moment for Season 5's finale, Drew raised a battered top hat, his signature salute renewed with deeper resonance. "This workshop is more than brick and beam," he said, voice warm with emotion. "It's a testament to what we can save when we save each other." The sun filtered through the refurbished skylights of Drew's workshop, illuminating a floor that had once lain beneath rubble. Polished oak benches gleamed, restored machinery hummed, and the scent of linseed oil mingled with metal. Drew stood at the center, reflecting on every moment, falling beneath the timbers, fighting through surgery, and reclaiming his place among the salvage piles. The journey had tested him physically and emotionally. Now this workshop was more than a workplace. It was a testament to resilience. Each repaired artifact showed that value often lies hidden in decay, ready for new life. It now carries the commitment of everyone who believed in his dream of salvaging the past and shaping the future together. To extend the workshop's spirit beyond these walls, Drew launched the Mobile Salvage Unit program. He refitted shipping containers into portable studios with sandblasters, workbenches, and demo areas. These units toured villages and city neighborhoods, offering drop-in sessions for anyone with old doors, railings, or radiators waiting for rescue. Volunteers learned welding brackets, stripping paint, and treating aged wood under Drew's guidance. Recognition schemes encouraged participants to nominate salvage stars for standout restorations. In towns that once watched heritage fade, these pop-up workshops sparked revivals. Historic gates reclaimed, stained glass panels reframed, and communities united by transformation. He also established the Salvage Apprenticeship Fund to nurture new talent. Each year, 5 young professionals received paid placements in his North Wales workshop, working alongside master craftsmen to restore real commissions. The fund covered tuition at local heritage colleges, and mentors shared insights on sourcing vintage materials, documenting provenance, and marketing reclaimed pieces. By empowering apprenticeships, Drew aimed to safeguard techniques at risk of vanishing. Early graduates launched their own restoration studios, spreading the salvage ethos nationwide. Their work now appears in boutique hotels, historic manor houses, and modern homes seeking aged character and conscious design. Drew chronicled the workshop's transformation in a coffee table book titled Rubble to Revival. It paired vivid photographs of collapsed beams and crushed machinery with portraits of volunteers mid-restore, Essays from conservation architects and personal reflections provided context and inspiration. Launch events at heritage festivals in Bristol, Edinburgh, and York featured scale models of the rebuilt structure and fragments recovered from the site. Critics praised the honest portrayal of failure and triumph. For readers unfamiliar with hands-on salvage, the book offered a tactile encounter with history, reminding them that every fragment carries a story worth preserving. On screen, Salvage Hunters delivered its boldest season yet. It opened with the workshop's collapse, wove through the rebuild, and concluded with solo hunts in remote sites from abandoned textile mills in Lancashire to sunken barns in the Cotswolds. Viewers saw Drew unearth church pew ends carved with angelic faces, rescue leaded windows from a Victorian artisan, and negotiate with estate owners to save cellar doors destined for scrap. Each episode underscored the theme, save what matters. Ratings soared as audiences followed a story of personal and architectural renewal. Fan forums buzzed with admiration for Drew's candor and community-driven conservation. Beyond television, the workshop now hosted monthly open-doors events for local residents to browse shelves, bring projects for appraisal, or simply enjoy a cup of tea beside refurbished machinery. A cafe corner with salvage seating became a hub for heritage enthusiasts. Weekend lecture series by guest speakers, archaeologists, metalworkers, and restoration architects filled afternoons. Children's workshops taught basic skills like wood carving and metal embossing, sparking lifelong interests. Each gathering reinforced Drew's belief that preservation flourishes when individuals feel connected to their architectural heritage. By inviting everyone to participate, he turned passive viewers into active stewards of local history. Drew also prioritized his own recovery, recognizing that endurance was vital. He joined a weekly cycling club exploring Welsh country lanes, using the rides to strengthen his body and clear his mind. A mindfulness coach introduced breathing techniques to ease tension in his chest from the collapse injuries. He kept a journal chronicling setbacks like torrential rain delays and triumphs, such as coordinating the first apprenticeship graduation in the restored courtyard. Reviewing these entries reminded him that emotional recovery ran alongside structural reconstruction. Self-care became as integral as oiling timber or treating iron, a rhythm of restoration mirrored in daily practice. At the grand reopening this spring, Drew stood beneath the restored ridge beams and addressed supporters, apprentices, and colleagues. He spoke of salvaging objects and rescuing communal purpose. He reminded them that tragedy can be a catalyst for renewal when met with collective resolve. His story had become a blueprint for turning calamity into opportunity. For those still doubting the value of old materials, he offered a challenge. Take a piece of local history, breathe fresh life into it, and in doing so rediscover parts of yourself. As the final nail was driven and echoes settled, the workshop's heartbeat resumed, a call to join the ongoing salvage hunt of life. His invitation echoed far beyond workshop walls, inspiring countless others to honor forgotten treasures.